Here's a quick walkthrough of how I just balanced all three apparatuses on this machine. So the Jambpeg head and the table cutter both have adjustments that can be made, but the girdle cutter cannot be adjusted. So this is the thing that everything has to be balanced to. Now I've recently taken this entire machine apart and then had it powder coated and put it back together. And I can tell that something has changed a little bit, which is not that big of a deal. I just need to readjust everything to match this. So I've done a baguette square one-step top with a table. I need a girdle, a crown, and a table to be able to do these things. So first thing I did is I just cut my rectangle without adjusting the height of this. So everything's the same, and I've cut all four sides flat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and don't worry that the girdle has a curved line at the bottom. That's just the preform touching the girdle. It's the top that we're worried about. So after I cut those four sides, I then cut in 4 facets on hole number 10 right here, and I matched them all the way around. The fourth one didn't match up. It was way off, and I just kept adjusting the cheater, adjusting the cheater, adjusting the cheater until finally I could go all the way around with a perfectly continuous straight line, and then I marked it. You'll see I started with these two pieces of metal flush, and you can see how different this is. It wasn't this extreme before, which tells me that when I put this back together, the platen is probably slightly crooked versus what it used to be. I don't think that really matters as long as everything else matches it. So, and that's what we're doing. So now I know where is essentially my 0 point for the cheater, which makes sure that everything's left to right balanced. Then I had to do the exact same thing with the table adapter. So I always cut my table with my index on 0, and I always put that 0 side against the cutter so that my orientation's always the same. And so the first thing I did was check the left and right. So I'm looking at the line of the table versus the line of the girdle. And at first it was slanted. So just like over here, I just kept cutting and adjusting and cutting and adjusting the cheater knob until my left and right balance looks good. And then I turn it to the side, and I'm looking at the same exact thing, but on the side view. So that line versus that line, and if it's slanted, it means that back to front is crooked. So I just cut a little bit, checked it, adjust here, cut a little bit, adjusted, cut here, and I now have what appears to be a perfectly balanced rectangle. Looking at it in the magnification on the camera, I'm wondering if maybe the left side needs to come down still a little bit more, which would be the right side here. No, I think it looks okay. So I think this is now perfectly balanced. And the final thing I need to do, which I have not done yet, is put one line here. So I've got my 0. This one's a little bit harder. Where do you put the line? I put the line right here. So if I use the back front cheater, these two lines will become off. So hopefully that becomes helpful for me in the future. If I need to adjust this, I know how to get back to 0. And if I'm cutting a stone and feeling like everything's getting out of control, which is what happened in my last stone, I know where these should be to give me balanced settings. So hopefully that's helpful to you. You want to get your girdle perfectly straight all the way around, like I've done here. And then a perfectly symmetrical table like I've done here. If anything along the way, especially looking at girdle compared to table, is crooked, that means that you aren't done.